Hey, how's it going guys, and welcome back to another episode of my Feed the Beast Ultimate server play series on the Utopia server. I hope you're all good. And firstly, I want to start by apologising for the lack of videos over the last couple of days. It's purely because I've been away at one of the I-Series festivals. I know for you guys, a lot of my subscribers are from America, and over there you have things like PAX and all that sort of stuff, big LAN events and all that. That's kind of the UK equivalent. It's not massive, but it's big enough. They have it like 3 times a year, and I generally go, so yes. And there is kind of a restriction on uploading while you're there, so unfortunately I could not upload while I was there, and I was too busy to upload before I went, so yeah, sorry about that. But we're back now, and the general schedule should adhere and carry on, so it should all be good. Now, you guys are probably wondering, what is this place? Well, let me give you a little rundown. Today I have been working on this continuously. It's my big room. It looks quite big, and I've used all the Zycraft blocks and stuff, which is pretty sweet. Now, one thing I do want to go and note before we go digging into everything is it's a kind of a minor thing, but it's quite cool in that the RAF lamp that I have up here, I actually don't need the RAF lamp. If you know anything about Zycraft, you'll know that the Zycraft blocks actually stop enemies or mobs from being able to spawn on them, which is pretty nice. So if I destroy the RAF lamp, I'm not going to, but nothing could spawn in here at all. Looking down there, you can also see the floor is also made of them, so nothing can spawn down there. So for intensive purposes, I put a RAF lamp in it just so you can see what I'm doing, because it can get a bit dark, but yeah. Now, to get down here, I've used some of the invisible blocks. Oh yeah, camouflage blocks, loving it. And these can get us all the way down here to the kind of below level. And yeah, here we go, looking pretty nice, right? So I'm thinking what we're going to do today is, we said we was going to work on power. Well, I'm going to skip that one for the time being, because I'm starting to get to a point now where I'm running out of places to put stuff. For instance, most of my chests are full of rubbish. Here we go, lots of rubbish, tons of rubbish. Down here, rubbish. I did have a chest over here which is meant to be railcraft. That turned into rubbish. Forestry is starting to also turn into rubbish, so yes, I think it's time that we finally sorted out all of our rubbish. And to do this, I'm not going to make a sorting machine, purely because we're on a server, and I don't think it's a good idea to be making a big bad sorting machine. You know, it can have big impacts on server and lag and all that sort of gizmos. So I'm thinking instead we're going to look at applied Energistics. Now, I did have a comment on my last video saying whether I could look into some of the mods that we haven't really talked about in any of my other playthroughs, and it's fairly new. And applied Energistics, I think, is one of those mods that some people know about and some don't. It's fairly new, and you know, it's still kind of in development, so I think now is probably the best time to go ahead and look at it. I am going to have to keep a check on my power usage while we're doing all of it. My tank is full at the minute and we seem fairly good, yes, but I'm not too sure on how much power this is going to use. I know before it had a kind of set amount, but I'm pretty sure the mod author's been playing around with kind of the energy consumption and whatnot, so yeah. Alright, so let's get involved. Now, the first thing we want to go ahead and do is gather quartz and quartz dust. Now, over the last kind of few weeks I've been on here, I've managed to gather quite a bit of quartz and quartz dust, so I'm quite happy with the amount that I've got here. Hopefully we're not going to need any more of this. When you first start off with applied Energistics, depending on where you are in the game, you can kind of go straight into it, but I would kind of advise against that. You can make yourself one of these guys, which is a quartz grindstone. If you grab one of those and you get yourself a, I believe it's a wooden crank. Where are you? Yeah, one of those guys there. You pop those in the top, throw your quartz crystals in there, and you have to manually click it to grind it into dust. But the easier way of doing this is by using a pulverizer. If I go ahead and turn the sides off on this, we can just go ahead and throw quartz in there like this, and it will give us 4 of these bad boys. There we go, quartz. Nice. If we look at the recipe list here, you can find that if you have silk touch as well and throw them in a pulverizer, the quartz crystals, you actually get 10 quartz dust. That's quite nice, isn't it? Otherwise than that, go around, look for all of your quartz in the walls and whatnot. It looks pretty much like that, and beat it up and you'll get a mixture of quartz crystals and quartz dust. There isn't really a set amount to it, but it's fairly decent, I think. Cool. So the first thing we're going to do, we're actually going to kind of make our way backwards through this mod, I think, because the first thing most people would go ahead and do is they would make themselves a ME controller and then work on to making ME storage tanks and that sort of stuff. I'm actually going to go backwards because I've designed these rooms to be specifically made for applied Energistics in the way that I want it to work. So we're going to go ahead and make ourselves the ME controller first, and then we're going to move straight on to making a crafting machine, a large crafting machine that is, to kind of get all of our kind of stuff rolling, get the ball rolling. So I think that is a good idea. Now the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is make a quartz cutting knife, and to do this we're going to want some sticks, which I probably don't have because I never have anything that I actually want. We'll take some planks and just quickly make some sticks. Here we go, sticks. I'll take a ton because, you know, we're always running out of sticks and you can never have enough sticks. So we need that, we need a bit of iron, and I'm pretty sure doing all of this today is going to absolutely ruin me for resources, but it's fine because we've got a quarry, so that can kind of get all this goods going. So we put that like that with some quartz crystals, giving us a quartz cutting knife. Pretty nice, right? And now we need to go ahead and make an advanced processor assembly, and to do this we need a diamond. So the first thing you're gonna need is diamonds. So like I say, early game you can kind of do it, but whether you'd want to is questionable because it's going to use a lot of your resources up. So at least have like a quarry and some basic, well not basic, but some kind of mid-game power, like lava or biofuel or something on the go. You can go ahead and use the you can use IC2 power, but obviously bear in mind if you're playing on the ultimate you're going to need grey catel, which means you're going to need things like these guys, the centrifuge, you're going to need the smelter downstairs. You need quite a bit to grab some of the bits to get the silicon cells that you need for most of the power. So yeah, and you don't want to go running off generators because that would just be ridiculous. So we've got ourselves a quartz cutting knife. Now we need that. We need some more iron. So let's just grab a stack, you know, because we're going to need tons of these guys. So we need that. We need quartz. What else do we need? Diamond, redstone. We need some silicon as well. So let's grab some redstone. I got lots of redstone. There we go. Making silicon is fairly simple as well. All you do is you go over to your furnace and you throw in some quartz dust. And he's going to do his thing and he'll spit out a nice piece of silicon for us, which is a different type of silicon compared to some of the other mods, so they don't interchange in this, just bear that one in mind. So all you do is you put your silicon like this, two nice little bits of redstone like that, like a boss, bit of diamond in the middle like this, and a cutting knife. Pow, gives us an advanced processor assembly. Pretty nice, right? You also keep your quartz cutting knife, so you haven't got to worry about that, but you are going to be using it a lot. So get used to the advanced processor assembly recipes and the other type of recipes that go with it. If we actually have a look at the assemblies down here, you're going to find there is two different types. You have the advanced processor and you have the basic processor. Basic one is done with gold, the advanced uses a diamond. Yeah. Now once you've got one of these guys, you're going to go ahead and throw it in a furnace like that. Kind of weird really why you throw it in a furnace, I don't really know, but once you've done that, you get yourself a ME advanced processor. Nice. Obviously bear in mind if it was the regular one you'd have an ME regular processor. And what we're going to go ahead and do with this guy is we're going to make an ME controller. So we need quartz, we need iron, we need a fair few bits to get the ball rolling on this one, but I think we're in good shape. So we'll put this guy like this, we'll put some quartz just around this, around the sides, like that, like a boss. We're going to throw some iron like this, kapam kapam, give us an ME controller. And this can be one of the main, well, it's this, you need one of these basically, without it you're not going to get anywhere. So we're going to take this guy, and we're going to go downstairs to the lower room, where we're going to have all of our processing going. Now the cool thing with applied Energistics is even though you can have kind of a very compact kind of sorting system, you can also have it do a lot of processes for you. So even though I'm talking about making it so that you can go ahead and sort all of your stuff and it's much easier than a sorting machine, it can do so much more than that. Now I talked about making a crafting kind of machine. Yeah, that can craft pretty much anything, but it's so much more involved, so hopefully we're going to get into it fairly quickly and you're going to be pretty impressed. So I've taken my energy tesseract from upstairs because we're going to use this with this guy purely because it's just a lot easier. We're going to use ultimate power because we have ultimate power, and we're going to go ahead and pop this guy on here like this. Nice. Alright, so this guy is now up and running. He's looking good. You can see our ME controller is online. The energy used is currently 6 units per tick, so it's not too bad. And the cool thing with applied Energistics is anything that is attached to this guy, so really to think of it is it's very modular. So a lot of the items that you get can be placed next to each other and they'll all share the same energy. It will basically create a network, which is really what it's all about. Now if we go down here, I want to find out really if we're using up any energy that I have to be worried about, and I don't think we should be. Nope, we're using none, so I'm quite happy with that. Now the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to make a lot of things actually. So if we type in ME here, we can make our way down through NEI and we should have all the recipes down here. Yeah, we're going to be making ME pattern providers. We're going to be making ourselves a ton of those actually. We're going to make a lot of the ME assembler containment walls, the ME heat vents, and the ME crafting CPUs. And just to give you a taster, we're going to need more of these advanced ones. We're going to need the containment walls, need regular quartz, that's not too bad with some gold, and the ME heat vents need a lot of iron bars, and they also need ME cables. So as you'd use cables for a lot of the other mods, the cables for this are the same type of thing. To make one of these guys, it's a bit misleading on this one actually, because to show you this actually shows that you have to use the coloured cables. But to do that originally you need the regular cables. What you actually need to go ahead and do is make yourself some of these quartz fibre cables, which is done with quartz and some glass, and doing that and then putting 2 bits of redstone around it will give you one of the ME cables. Now your basic cables for transferring bits around, but really you're going to want to make it so that everything's quite compact, and to do that you're just going to place the blocks side by side. Really, obviously you can go ahead and use wires, but I don't really see the point, to be honest, because every wire adds an amount of energy per tick onto the overall amount that it's going to be sucking up, so really that seems a bit pointless to me. So I'm going to go ahead and craft all of these guys really quickly, because it's going to take me a minute, and then we'll come back and we'll get this guy set up for some extreme crafting. See you in a bit. Alright guys, so let me know what you think of this. This is looking pretty cool, isn't it? Check it out. And this guy is basically going to be the frame for our big sorting machine thingamabob. And the technical word for it, a thingamabob. Now, this guy is made completely out of these, the ME assembler containment walls. And you can make different sizes, but I've gone for a nice 4x4, giving me a nice 4x4 area inside, or a 2x2, so that I can fit some very cool upgrades that I want in there. Now you can see here that it's actually really expensive, so I've been taking my time getting all this made. I've got a load of stuff here from the Applied Energistics, and we're going to go ahead and install all of this now. Now this is kind of really only half of it. I think it's going to be a two-part of this one. It's taken me so long to make all of this. I'm pretty much out of resources now, so the quarry's going to have to get running again. But except for that, it's kind of alright, but so expensive. So I've actually changed my mind. No, this isn't early game or mid game. This is kind of later game, really, I think. Purely because of the amount of stuff that you need to do this. Now, the first thing we go ahead and do is get this guy running. So we're going to need a load of these guys, ME heat vents, and these are made with iron bars, ME cables and iron ingots. If you remember me saying that ME cables are made with quartz fibre and redstone. Quartz fibre is quartz dust and glass. So let's go and install all these. Now really you have to cover all the sides. There can't be any kind of openings, and all the sides have to be filled with this stuff. And I'm going to do one quick thing before we actually go ahead and do this. Now I made one of these guys, an ME wireless access terminal, and you're probably thinking, what is that? Well, I'm going to show you in a bit, but first we're going to go ahead and link this guy, and now he is linked to this ME controller down here, and you'll see why in a minute. So let's go ahead and get all these together. So we're going to put 2 up here like this, fill this side in with all these guys as well. Ba-bam, ba-bam, like that. Now you can see why I did that before I made this. Pretty cool, right? Looking amazing. Oh yeah. We're also going to need to put these guys in the middle. So we need ME crafting CPUs. We need 4 of these. Well, you can make as many as you like, but you need at least 1 ME pattern provider. Now I'm going to use 4 and 4. You could just use 1 and 7. It's really up to you, or you can use more of these. You'll see why in a minute. The ME pattern providers are advanced processors, iron, storage cells, and conversion matrix. Obviously we went over these before. These just need the diamonds in them. And what else do we need? These guys need the basic processors, and these guys, storage cells, need the basic with a bit more quartz and redstone. So, you know, pretty expensive stuff again. The ME pattern providers need the advanced processors, blah blah blah, all the same stuff. Yeah, quite a bit. Crafting CPUs aren't that bad though. You just need an advanced one with those, with some quartz, glowstone and iron. So let's install these guys. So we're going to go ahead and put 4 of these here, and we're going to put another 4 of these guys here. Yeah, now this is starting to look pretty wicked, don't you think? So now we just need to fill this in with another 4, and I think I've left them upstairs. Let me just go and grab these guys. Alright, so I got my heat vents. Now we can finally finish this guy off. Finally, because it's taken ages. Just need to apply these guys to it, and we should be in good shape to start making all the rest of the things. So I'm going to put these guys here, and bam, you see it change shape, and we have ourselves a multi-block structure. This guy here, the ME Molecular Assembler Chamber. Sounds pretty cool, right? Now you can see here you have a big kind of access area, and I'll get a bit more into this in a minute, but you'll also find we have 4. So if we go through, you can see that we have 4 of these guys, and these are because we put 4 of the modules in there to allow us to have this amount of patterns, which is very cool. So like I say, you could have more, you could have less, but I think 4 is probably enough, and you'll see why eventually. Now the first thing you want to go ahead and do is put down one of these guys, an ME access terminal, and we're just going to pop them here like this. And by accessing them here, you can see that we have kind of an area in which we can put stuff. But before we can put stuff in here, we need to give it a kind of a ROM drive to allow it to have items stored on it. And we do this with an ME drive. Now I'm going to put this guy here like this, and you can see that everything that we're piling up against this guy is actually connecting to the kind of input link itself. So everything is one big system, which is quite nice. Now the ME drive has multiple kind of access points to put these guys in, storages. And you have different types of storage. I've actually opted for the basic one purely because I ran out of stuff. That's pretty much it. You can have different ones, so I've gone for a basic 1K storage, which is made with a storage cell, redstone, glass, and iron. This guy uses a basic processor just like this. You can go ahead and make more, so you can see this has a 1K storage, which is 0 out of 1024 bytes used and 0 out of 63 types. We'll get more into that in a minute, but that is very important. We have a 16K, 64K, 4K, and yeah, that's pretty much it. The 64s are very expensive. You need storage clusters made of these guys. So advanced here, storage blocks. Each one of these is made with advanced and free storage segments. Storage segments use the basic ones, the storage cells, and they also use basic ones as well. So that is an absolute shed load of resources to make one of these guys. Now by popping this guy in here, you're going to see that the top slot lights up. The top left where we actually put it. Move it down here, you'll see that this one down here will move, and we go to the bottom right, you'll see it'll go down there as well. So quite a nice indication that it's all up and running and working perfectly fine. Now the next thing you want to go ahead and do is start applying items to your system. Now by applying items to your system, you're going to go ahead and use some of the bytes that are available on your ROM drives, like here. See, ME 1K storage. Don't know why I keep calling it ROM, but I just kind of think it makes sense. Now by doing this, you put items into your ME terminal. If we put bread in here like this, you're going to see that it now has stored 1 bread, and it stores it as ME, which is matter energy. So it basically kind of breaks it down into matter energy and stores it inside here, and it will store these on your drives like these guys here. You can see that it now has 9 out of 1024 bytes used and 1 of 63 types. So you can see if I was to go ahead and put some quartz in here like this, 58 quartz, we've now used 24 out of 1024 and 2 of 63 types. So each type of item we put in there obviously classes itself as a type. So we could put 63 different types of items on here, and depending on the amount of those items would fill up our bytes used. So then you'd either need more of these, or you'd need to invest in some more advanced ME storage cells. Pretty nice, right? So that's very cool. The main thing that you can do with this, which is extremely cool, is if we go upstairs and grab ourselves some other bits. Actually, we might have some in our miner's backpack or a digger's backpack. Let's have a look. Yeah, we got coal. Nice. So if we went over here and popped in, I don't know, let's put in 64 cobble. Yeah? Now you'd think if we put more in, it's going to create an additional stack. Well, you'd be wrong. By putting these in, it shows us 102. Pretty cool, right? And you can put in as many as these as you like, as long as you have the storage capacity to accept it. So you can see we've used 45 out of 1024. If we was to put more advanced items in here, you'll find that it will use more. So for instance, let's take a guess, a portal gun might use a little bit more. So we're currently on 45. Let's try putting a portal gun in there. We're now on 53, so there you can see the portal guns use more than 1 byte use. I'm not really too sure on the amount of bytes they actually uses, whether it's to do something with the amount of items it's used to create that actual item. I really don't know. You'd have to get back to me on that one. But yeah, pretty nice, right? I think it's really cool. So, right, so we've done that. We've got our ME1K storage. We've done all this cool stuff. We've got all our items in here. So what else are we going to do next? Well, the first thing is I'm going to show you the ME wireless access terminal. The reason I made this guy is extremely cool. We can go ahead and right click, and it's currently showing us wireless access terminal no signal. And you'll be asking why? It's because we need to put down an ME wireless access point, and this guy can be placed anywhere within your system. So we put this guy like this. Now right click and bam, we can access our terminal. So think of it this way: you have this guy filled up with some extremely expensive 64 or 16K storage. You put all of your items in there, everything, and say you're upstairs doing something and you need to find your items. Bam, you've got them. Not only can you view them, but you can actually take them out. Now that is wicked. There's a few access kind of things in it you can do. You can sort by different types, A to Z, number of items, blah blah. You can do a sort order, and you can have a view sorted or craftable. Now you might be asking yourself, craftable? What's craftable? I haven't got any craftable. Well, we can use craftable because we jumped. We jumped a few kind of places in the way that you would actually create all of the items in this. Normally you'd go for these items first, maybe not the wireless ones, but I very much doubt you'd see one of these guys instantly. That's why I thought we'd make it first. Now what you do with this guy? Well, this is very cool. So we need an ME pattern encoder and an ME blank pattern. Now this guy here doesn't actually require any energy, he doesn't need to be linked to your system, but we're going to put him here anyway just because I think it looks nice. And what we're going to do is we're going to take an ME blank pattern. And I'm going to go upstairs and grab myself some wood so we can kind of just show off the basic kind of fundamentals of how this works. It does work in different ways as well, so there's there's a lot of options you can do with this, but I think we're going to leave those for a later episode purely because it takes some time and I need to get my quote back on the go. That'll be part 2, I think. Part 2 of Applied Energistics. I love this mod, it's amazing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go in here, and firstly I think actually we're going to go to this guy here, our ME pattern encoder. And what you do with this is you make yourself an ME blank pattern. These guys are made with quartz, iron, glowstone, and a little bit of glass like that. And you put your ME blank pattern up here. Now what you can do is use this to make certain items. So say we wanted to make ourselves a crafting table like this. Don't know why I'd want to make one of those, so I'm going to make a chest instead actually, I think, because they're a little bit more useful. It uses ghost blocks like this, so you can see you're not actually using them up. Gives you the recipe here, which would make one chest. If we click encode, bam. This now is ME encoded assembler pattern 446114. Crafts one chest with 8 oak wood planks. Pretty cool, right? It tells you what you're crafting and all that good stuff. We can go ahead and right click on here and get rid of all this guy. I don't know why it's still got a button in there. And now what we can go ahead and do is put this inside our ME molecular assembler chamber. There we go. Bam. And another cool thing you can do is if you hold down your shift, it'll actually show you the item that it crafts. Obviously, if you had absolutely tons of these in there, bear in mind we can have 4 pages full of these guys, it might get a bit confusing on what you can craft, but once you have tons in here and just shift, it'll show you all the items that you can craft. Now, one cool thing now is if we go to our ME wireless access terminal, like this, you can see that we now have this item here. We currently have no chests in our system, but it's showing that we can craft them if we wanted to craft them. Now, obviously, at the minute, we can't, because there's no wood in there. So if I was to throw wood inside here and click craft, it's going to say how many would you like to craft. Well, we just want 1 because I don't want to go wasting all my wood. Click begin, and bam, we have 1 chest. Nice. Pretty cool, right? And it shows on here now that we can craft another one. Obviously, if we had more than 1 in here, or we had 1 in here, it will just show that we have a chest there. If we had 2, it would show a 2 next to it, just like our bread, for instance. There we go, bread. Now we have 2 bread. Now this is amazing. Now obviously you could go ahead and do all of this directly from your ME terminal, but because we have the wireless access terminal, it means that we can now go ahead and do our things. And what we can do is we can feed items directly into here with the use of, well, there's multiple ways of doing it. Applied Energistics has its own way of importing items into the system, which we may get into later, or you could just go ahead and kind of hook it up with something like a ender chest. You'd still probably need to get it hooked up though using a few items. If I just show you down here, you need these guys, you need the import buses, and import buses allow you to import items from separate kind of inventories, and they can also be used to import and export items through a kind of crafting system if things need to be smelted, which like I said, I'm not really going to get into in this episode because that's a completely different thing on its own, but we will be getting into it eventually because this is going to be the ultimate crafting chamber. Pretty much very badass. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We've gone over most of the stuff that I wanted to cover today. We've shown how we can craft items by using this guy here. Now, with the crafting modules that we put in there, they actually speed up the pace that it crafts. So if you didn't want as many of these chambers here, like we have 4, you could go ahead and put more of the crafting modules, the crafting CPUs in there, and it will actually craft a lot faster. Just bear in mind that obviously if you only had 1 in there, then it would craft a lot slower, and these guys can be made smaller as well. It doesn't need to be this size. So if you made it smaller and only had room for, say, 2 blocks in there, then yes, you'd probably need to go ahead and, you know, kind of make do with it being a little bit slow. We can also import items in here as well, so it's quite nice. Bam. There we go. See? Cool beans. We can search items at the top as well, which is nice. And obviously once we fill this up, we have a nice little scroll bar here to do our thing. We can also go ahead and set this to sort by craftable items only, showing the craftable items that we can make that we don't have. But yeah, that's nice. So I'm thinking in the next episode we're going to go ahead and show the rest of the items in the applied Energistics and get a very nice sorting line set up and a crafting line set up, including smelting and crushing and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, you can do that. It will very easily work with things like the thermal expansion and whatnot, and I'm going to show it all off because I think it's amazing. So yeah, there we go. Alright guys, I'll see you later. Have a good one and goodbye.